Welcome to the MindMill Podcast, where host Seth Marcus dissects and discusses all things impacting young adults. Peers, mentors, and professionals share intimate conversations on subjects such as entrepreneurship, exercise and health, music and art, the blessings and curses of technology, travel, and how to navigate adulthood in this age of information. We are the largest generation in history, and we dictate the future. The MindMill. Find your purpose, fuel your purpose.
Hey guys, before we start today's episode, I wanted to fill you in on my newest product, the MindMill Booklet. Over the past years, my life has been transformed by my writing practice. I use a daily journal and digital note-taking apps to organize my life, pursue my goals, and hold myself accountable. However, my absolute most essential writing platform has always been my pocketbook. It's my mind's inbox, where I collect ideas, build lists, and capture notes from conversations. I love it because there are never any distractions, and it keeps me off my phone, aka the distraction machine. For years, I used a simple blank notebook before realizing I could do this better. I wanted my daily pocketbook to have the sections we use every day: shopping lists, things to research later, favorite quotes, habit tracking, and etc. So I created it. The MindMill Booklet is designed to be your catch-all for creativity and productivity. It's packed with useful and intuitive note templates, easy navigation, inspiring art, and powerful quotes. I keep mine in my back pocket every day. It's truly a game changer. The best part about it is that it keeps me productive and in my mind rather than on my phone. So pick yourself up a booklet, join the ever-growing community of writers, support the MindMill, and improve your focus by putting pen to paper. Go to themindmill.com for more details, one hell of a podcast, and all MindMill updates. Welcome to the MindMill Podcast. I'm Seth Marcus, your host. And first of all, I just want to say I missed you guys. Things at the MindMill have been growing crazy fast, and we've been hyper-focused on bringing this MindMill booklet to the market. But it's out there now. I'm super proud of it, so go and get yourself a copy or two. That being said, the podcast took a back seat for a few weeks while we were in the home stretch, but we're back, stronger than ever, and ready to deliver some fantastic new MindMill episodes. Today we are with Eric Hinman, a serial entrepreneur turned health and adventure influencer. I love me some routine and discipline, and Eric's lifestyle is on a whole nother level. He has crafted his days around intense training, optimal nutrition, community connection, time in nature, and maximized recovery, all the while documenting his life and inspiring his online community. In this interview, Eric and I dig deep into his daily routine, how he balances discipline and spontaneity, our shared love for cold therapy for recovery, and how to share your authentic awesomeness with the world. So many topics in so little time. Guys, Eric Hinman. I was thinking a lot about the Burning Man. It's been on topic a lot recently. I think everybody's kind of starting to make their decisions now about if they're going to go or not, you know? And a lot of people were telling me that they make their decision in the spring and then all the decisions come in August. How, where, like all the logistics start popping together. And I wonder, did you do a camper or something like that?
Yeah, rented an RV in Denver, drove with a friend to Black Rock Desert. It was like a 16-hour total trip. We split it up over a couple days. So Stayed one night in Wyoming, stayed one night, like 4 hours outside of Black Rock Desert, and then drove in the following day. And we got there at noon on Sunday, and it was just an epic dust storm, and we had to sit in line for 10 hours. I'm someone who doesn't like to sit still for 30 minutes, let alone 10 hours confined in an RV. And we finally got through at like 11 o'clock at night.
What did you do to pass the time?
My buddy had Aubrey Marcus's book, so I was reading that.
Own the Day?
Own the Day, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great book.
I kept doing laps. Like I would just walk from where we were to the front of the line and back and just meeting some people in the other RVs. But it was uncomfortable outside because there was so much dust blowing everywhere. And it was uncomfortable inside because we couldn't have our air conditioning on, because as soon as you turn the air conditioning on, it was sucking in all of the dust from outside. So it was just like there was no world that was ideal.
So it was like the last struggle before paradise, before getting to the oasis of Burning Man.
But that was the welcome. But it was awesome after that.
Man, I gotta go. It just seems like every time I hear a story, I just get more and more excited about it. It's like it's those types of struggles that I really enjoy about any adventure. Those are the ones that you remember because then like it makes it that much sweeter right afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeking discomfort and I love doing things that are outside of my element. And I also like routine. And part of this was get out of your routine a little bit for 5 days and just kind of go with the flow and experience something like no other so that, I know I can do that. And even with sitting in the RV and traveling that long, all of these things, they just make you mentally tougher. So that's how I tried to look at a lot of it, knowing that I wasn't going to have access to a gym, which I work out every day, and no access to a cold plunge or a cold stream to sit in for recovery, and no infrared sauna, and no healthy, fast, casual restaurants that I could go to every single night for dinner. Sure. I just embraced it.
Yeah. Did you bring all your food or was there good options there?
I was in a camp, and in the camp, we would have 2 meals each day. We would have breakfast and dinner. So I had that to count on every day. Outside of that, yes, we had everything that we needed in our RV. So lots of bars, lots of water. We stocked up at a Whole Foods prior to going in. So we had like bananas and different fruits and stuff that we could snack on throughout the day. But a lot of the camps, they give out food. They give out, obviously, drinks. So you go around and it's a barter system. You're not obligated to give anything, but everything is based on giving to each other. So, you'll go up to a camp and they'll give you some food or they'll give you a drink. And then if you have something that you can give, you give that back to them.
What was your currency?
Rise bars, Patter bars. I think I brought a bunch of Go Life packets, like nootropics. Mm-hmm. It was mainly just energy and focus supplements and then different snacks that you could have. I don't have any craft. Like it would be cool if I could make bracelets and I could give out bracelets to everyone, but I'll think of something more creative for next year.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about that, what I would like to use.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just as cool giving someone something as it is receiving. I mean, think about Christmas. It's really rewarding giving someone a present just as much as it is getting a present. So
it opens up the dialogue too. If you're there bringing drugs or substances, it's like that's going to be the path you take. That's going to be the people you meet. That's going, and that you're going to be in that world of Burning Man. Mm-hmm. If you're bringing nootropics and snacks, you're going to be, probably in the more health conscious and like the more grateful people, people are like, man, I really needed this right now, or arts and crafts, you're going to meet more like-minded artistic people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to think about that. I really would love to have something that's a bit more true to my own soul, as well as what's going to encourage like open new lines of communication with people, new relationships. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, Eric Hinman, welcome to the MindMill Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to meet you. So we were talking right before we went on air about training, and I was looking through your regiment, which you have plenty available on your social media and on different websites. But I wanted to ask you a question. I've been meaning to go to this famous Denver Sports Recovery here, and I know that there's just so many different types of recovery practices. Mm-hmm. Is there any one that has just been like really striking you as like the most effective?
Yeah, so the most effective for me, and keep in mind, everyone is different and everyone has access to different things. So a huge portion of this is just what can you do on a regular basis for recovery? And for some people, it's just like moving, not sitting often, and eating healthy. I have access to a lot of things. So for me, it's cold exposure by far, sitting in a cold stream, doing at Denver Sports Recovery, the contrasting baths. So I'll sit in a cold tub for 5 minutes, and then I'll sit in a hot tub for 5 minutes, and I'll do 3 rounds of that. And I also do an infrared sauna every single night for 50 minutes. Those are my favorite forms of recovery. And those are focused recovery efforts. There's a million other things I do every single day that aid to recovery, like not sitting often, moving all the time, eating healthy, getting 8 hours of deep sleep. So it's wise to pick a couple things each year to master and just build into your routine so it becomes habit and it's autopilot, and then, do something else the next year. Don't try to do it all at once.
Right. Yeah, I totally resonate with that. I also like your answer about cold because anybody can get cold exposure.
Cold shower.
Right. Anybody has it, as opposed to, if you were going to do the infrared sauna or the hot and cold, you have to go on location for something like that. So what is your cold let's just talk about your at-home cold exposure if you don't have the chance to get to the cold plunge.
So I rarely ever do it at home anymore, just because I do have access usually to a cold stream, or I seek out cold tubs in the different cities I'm traveling to. But a cold shower works. I always tell people that's the best place to start, but you're going to get the most bang for your buck if you have a bathtub and you can do an ice bath. So just buying a ton of ice, just dumping in cold water and then putting the ice in and sitting in there for 4 minutes. The key is you want that burning sensation, and you want some pins and needles, because what that's doing is upregulating your circulation, which is going to help get rid of inflammation. And the cold stream, it's 29 degrees right now in Boulder Creek. I'm headed to Clear Creek right after this to sit in Clear Creek.
Right on.
And I'll do it for 4 minutes tops.
Yeah.
I don't know what that tipping point is to where it becomes dangerous. All I know is that 4 minutes, I feel like I get enough cold exposure. I get those pins and needles for an hour afterwards. And it's a dopamine release. You feel incredible. You feel limber. So, if you have access to a cold stream, start with 30 seconds to a minute, and then just like anything, build up, because your body is going to start becoming more tolerant to it.
It's also such a mental victory too. I don't have access to a cold stream. When it's summertime, I'll jump in the pool, which, we try to keep a little colder than normal, but even that's not the same as, cold. But getting your breath up and just owning that mental win in the beginning of the day, that with the dopamine release and all the physical effects of the cold, it just makes you feel like just 6 cups of coffee without the coffee sort of feeling, you're just on point. And I make sure to do it on days of interviews, just to feel just extra aware. Yeah.
And so much of the exercise, the recovery, eating healthy, getting deep sleep, all of this stuff that I do, it's not to look a certain way, which I think people get caught up with. It's more to feel a certain way and to have tremendous mental clarity and just being able to exude positive energy. Those are the main reasons why I live the life the way I do. And looking a certain way is just a byproduct of doing all of those things that make you feel a certain way.
Right. Chasing that being your best self every day.
Exactly.
Feeling. Do you have any breathing techniques or anything that surrounds the cold that helps you get through it? Either breathing or mental practices that help you get through, because it gets difficult, especially in the onset, especially the very beginning.
Yeah. The hardest part, is committing to doing it. Just like anything, starting is always the hardest part. It's like running. I still have days where I've run thousands of miles, but I have anxiety about going on that run. But once I start, I'm in the flow state. So starting is the hardest part. It's just committing to doing it. And the first 30 seconds is make or break, kind of like a CrossFit workout. You're going to make or break in that first 30 seconds, and just know it's not going to get any worse. It just got to maintain that same level of pain and discomfort. I don't have any breathing techniques that I do. That's not something that I've played around with a ton. There are certainly benefits to that. So 2 things. When I'm uncomfortable, a lot of times I'll count in my head just to keep my mind in the present moment and not let my mind wander to think about negative thoughts. So I'll just count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. I know I can do anything for 30 seconds, and I know I can do anything for 30 seconds more. And then I know I can do anything for 30 seconds more than that. So I'll just keep on counting.
Yeah.
And also there's an element of, I've done this before, I can do it again. And I used to compete in Ironman triathlon, and that's a lot of what the run was for me. I was at mile 10 and you want to quit, it sucks, but you tell yourself, no, I've run 20 miles before. I can run another 10 miles. And then once I get through that, I've run 6 miles before, really fatigued. I can run another 6 miles. So you have to keep pushing your limits in order to keep achieving more. And once you've done one thing, you just set the bar a little higher and just keep setting it a little higher each time. And then when you want to quit, you say, no, I've done this before. I can do it again.
Yeah. You're obviously such a driven person and very ambitious. I love what you're saying about taking on new challenges on a longer term basis, like maybe spending a year focusing on running or lifting and then introducing something new, really giving yourself a chance to ingrain it into your routine. Mm-hmm. When did the recovery really come in for you? Because obviously you're talking about, I can run 6 miles after the 10 miles, these types of go, which is very prevalent here in Colorado. Mm-hmm. It's very yang. When did you start to embrace that yin side of things? Because recovery seems to be your newest addition.
Definitely my newest. That's been over the last 2 or 3 years, really tinkering with recovery and also tinkering with what can I do day in and day out to get that same high. honestly, I don't like competing that much anymore. I like competing with myself every single day. When I sign up for a competition and compete with others, I just go so hard that it throws me off for the next few days. So I know the amount of anaerobic volume I can do each day, the amount of aerobic volume I can do each day, the amount of strength training I can do each day, and be able to back it up again the next day. And to most, it looks like crazy volume, but I've been doing it for 10 years. So my body has adapted to that kind of volume. And honestly, I look back to like how cavemen lived. You know, they didn't sit down. They moved all day. They had to find their food. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's uncommon to exercise and move and do something strenuous every single day, because that was our ancestry. That's how they lived. They had to get their food every single day. So yeah, the last 2 years have been focused on recovery. And my whole world and lifestyle shifted with Ironman triathlon. I started competing in my first triathlon in 2010, my first half Ironman 2011, my first full Ironman 2012. And that's when I started really living life with purpose. And each year I would pick one new thing to tackle. So, the first thing was just like training with purpose. Why am I doing this bike ride today? Why am I doing this run? What is the point of these intervals? What is the point of this swim session today? And that was like my first 2 years of triathlon, was just like learning why I was doing each of those activities every single day and how that was making me better. And then it was diet, just focusing in on, okay, what foods are healthy and satiating and accessible to me and fit in with my lifestyle. I eat out almost every single meal, so I have to find restaurants where I can find healthy menu items that are satiating so that I crave them every single day. And that was like a 2-year process of dialing that in to where eating was then on autopilot. And then it was sleep. Like, what are all of the things I can do throughout the day, prior to bed, just before falling asleep, to get 8 hours of deep sleep every single night? And it was tinkering with all sorts of stuff for a year. And the last couple of years, it's really been recovery of trying all different forms of things, deep tissue massage and cupping and cryotherapy and just moving all the time. What are those things that my body responds really, really well to? And again, that I can easily build into my daily routine so that it's not something that is difficult for me to do. So that's a key important part of all of this stuff, is like, find an exercise that you love and that is accessible. Find recovery things that you love and that are accessible, because the key to this is building a lifestyle around it. It's not just like doing something for a little while to get a short-term result. It's like, how can I build my whole lifestyle around this to feel amazing?
Is there a certain method that you will add something into your routine? Because I think it's as important to understand what's not serving you anymore too, and what has to, be the order of operations between this, and that as you add more and more in, you can feel like you're losing the day at the cost of your discipline. I would prefer personally, and I think we're in the same space with this, is I'd rather be living more of a routine lifestyle than giving this space for experimentation and spontaneity. Mm-hmm. But too much of a good thing can lead to a loss of the adventures of life.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I certainly build in a lot of my routine is being able to travel and adventure and like try new things and meet new people. That's a huge component of my day to day, is meeting new people and experiencing new things within my normal routine. Like, I still make sure that I get my morning workout in, I get a healthy lunch in, I get some recovery. So I have these things that I just won't give up.
Yeah.
I have to do them on a regular basis if I have access to them. And if I don't, try and find something else that is going to give me a similar effect. And then outside of that, yeah, I have some time where I'm either dabbling with new things or just trying out new experiences to see if they give me even more positive energy than those other things I'm doing. It's more dabbling though than it is. I've gone through phases of my life where it was like a lot of content consumption and just, consuming and trying. And now I feel like I'm in more of just like a content creation phase of my life. And I'm just like executing day in and day out rather than trying too much new stuff on a regular basis. I'll tinker with things, but I've kind of dialed in my perfect day. And the more I try new things, the more I realize, no, I've dialed in my perfect day. Just keep doing that.
Right. There is a lot of knowledge to be gained with diving deep into certain modalities, and especially with relationships too, like getting through that. Has there been any consequence to your dabbling, experimenting lifestyle?
I wouldn't say there's been huge consequences in the dabbling portion, there's more consequences in like, I'm really structured. That makes
hard to
it
book, right?
Yeah, exactly. That makes it difficult to have relationships with people that need you to be flexible. I'm just not that flexible because I've kind of, again, dialed in like those people, places, things, experiences, and structure that gives me incredible positive energy every single day. It's selfish in a way, but I also think it's selfless in a way because I preach this stuff to try and help make other people better as well. I want them to have the same feelings that I have every single day and just feel good and exude positive energy, because ultimately that's what attracts opportunities and success in life. It's not like really seeking it. It's just being happy with yourself, being able to exude that, add value, connect people, and then good things are going to come back to you.
Right. Resonates a lot with me as well. I'm very structured myself, and I've had ripples in friendships and even lost friendships due to my rigidity of my schedule, and I think we, probably both have caught both compliments and some questioning on the excessive structure in our life. When you're like, someone calls you up like, hey man, what are you doing? You want to hang out? And you're like, well, I can hang out Tuesday after next or something like that, and then they almost are a bit affronted by it. And I think that it's definitely situational, because there's some wonderful people who live in that lifestyle of just, where do I feel right here in this moment, as opposed to this is my perfect day and I'm going to shoot that as far as possible. I'm going to perpetuate that feeling. But I feel like there's also a cutting of the cord, or a bit of a evolution in the relationships that you have, where like you start spending more and more time with people who also value their calendars and your calendar in the same way. When people are notoriously late, it's very difficult to maintain a friendship with people, because you're like, well, I got my next thing going, and it's very challenging. I find, at least in my social circle, is like you kind of start to, you start to grow apart from people. And a lot of it has to do with not only your values and activities and what the people are into, but also how they treat their own time and how they value yours as well. Yeah.
I mean, you're a product of your environment and you are who you hang out with. So one thing I love about Colorado, I was hiking Green Mountain with a friend, Josh, who's an ultra marathon runner. And he had already run like 12 miles that day. I'd done a CrossFit workout that morning, but certainly not run 12 miles. And we're hiking Green Mountain together. And then he tells me that he has a friend who is summiting Mount Sanitas 30 times over like a 24-hour period. And like, I love that. I love surrounding myself with people like that, because I don't want to feel like I'm an overachiever. I almost want to feel like I'm an underachiever with the people that, I'm surrounding myself with. So we spoke about this prior to jumping on air, I think, but there's so many people here in Colorado that are just like overly high achievers in the health and wellness space and athleticism. So I love being here so that, I don't feel abnormal with the amount of exercise that I do every single day. And I don't feel abnormal with living a really structured life. And I don't feel abnormal that I spend 90 minutes every single night at a recovery center and,
You really are the product of your environment. The more that you prioritize what truly makes you happy and makes you successful, you can't help but attract people of the same nature, and other people who are just as engaged and ambitious and want to, summit at a 31st time, for God's sakes. That's crazy. I remember my first summer here, I was 22 and I was getting into mountain biking, and I was really starting to get used to the altitude. I was going up to Evergreen and Morrison quite a bit and hitting a lot of trails and starting to push myself. And one day I was feeling really like, okay, I'm starting to get my legs, like this, I've done this trail many times and now I'm starting to get myself up it quick and at pace. And I was kind of starting to pat myself on the back. And then this, I swear, maybe 65, 70-year-old woman just totally just burned right past me trail running, and I was on a bike. It's like, oh, where am I? Like I have so far to go.
Yeah, which is awesome. That's what you want in life.
I love it.
You want to be able to know that like there's so much more out there. And yeah, when I was competing in Ironman, aerobic fitness is something that sometimes you're continuing to build into your late 40s. And like on the bike portion, and I was a very good biker, I would have people that would pass me and I'd look at their leg and it'd be like 54. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I want to be that dude when I'm 54 passing me at 32,
Yeah. It seems like the more and more people get into mental and physical performance and this access to plethora of data and experiential learning from the internet, age is really turning into less and less of a construct. You kind of are like the product of your decisions, and I think that it's not necessarily that you're 50 years old and your body doesn't work the same way. It's that you've had 50 years of habits that have either built your body or started to deteriorate it.
Yeah.
So it's something that is very apparent here in Colorado. There's such a diversity of performance here and what people are interested in.
Yeah. I'm 38 and I don't feel like I've had a down year yet from mental performance, physical performance, aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity, strength. So I'm hoping that continues for as long as possible.
Well, Eric, your day and what I've seen from your social media is just jam-packed with adventure, so much fun, performance, pushing yourself. But obviously that is that's already the product of years of working and being able to free up your time in that way. Would you mind sharing a little bit on how you got to this epic day, everyday lifestyle that you're in?
Yeah, sure. So my first business out of college in 2002 was a property and casualty insurance agency in upstate New York. My father was in the business. He managed a small property and casualty insurance carrier, and he gave me a great opportunity, a company car with a small salary and the ability to create my own destiny, going around door to door, selling insurance and building up a book of business that is residual income. So for 7 years, from 2002 to 2009, that's what I was doing. I was putting 50,000 miles a year on a car, and I was going door to door to campgrounds, marinas, hotels and motels, these niche markets in upstate New York, insuring them. And in 2009, I hired someone to manage the day-to-day and do the customer service for me. And that was my first lesson in entrepreneurship of, wow, I don't have to do everything in order for this to be successful. I can just play in the part where I'm most valuable and hire someone else to help do other things that take up a lot of time. So then I got involved in software for a 4-year period, building mobile applications for clients. Had a team of about 20 people, a lot of young software engineers that were at Syracuse University or various upstate universities that were taking mobile app development courses. And I sold my shares in that company in 2014. And when I say retired at 34, that was the last time that I had a day job, a desk job where I was, going to an office from 9 to 5. I co-founded and opened a CrossFit gym in upstate New York that is now a CrossFit gym, indoor cycling studio, and HIIT studio. Same with that. With each business, I learned this is my value add. I can help start brands and businesses. I can put the right people in place. I can get people very excited early on, but I don't want to be involved in operations. I don't want to be involved with managing people. I just want to start businesses and add value where I can and where I feel like I have the most value to add. Mm-hmm. So that's what the gym was, being involved early on, helping build the brand, helping scale it into other studios. Through the gym, I met my business partner in a restaurant that I co-own in upstate New York called Original Grain. We opened that in 2016. It's a healthy, fast, casual restaurant. And, again, was involved early on in that, but was very upfront with this is my role. And I'm happy to help early on build it and invest. But outside of that, I want a lot of free time to be able to continue just meeting lots of people, collecting dots, and then eventually connecting those dots to form another business. That's been very successful. And through that, my same business partner, we teamed up with a couple other investors and opened up another restaurant in Syracuse, New York called Exo Taco about 8 months ago. So those are my businesses in upstate New York. Ultimately, the insurance business is what paved the way to freedom and flexibility and the ability to invest in a lot of these other things. And freedom and flexibility is what led to Ironman. Ironman is what led to this following I now have on Instagram. Yeah. And if you want to say I work now, which I kind of just really play every day because I'm doing what I love and just meeting interesting people and creating content. But the last couple of years, I've been able to capitalize on that following on social media. And I'm working with a dozen brands now, helping them build out their brand ambassador programs, obviously promoting their products on social media that weave in well with my lifestyle, their founders, products, services that I love and use every single day. And I'm maximizing that chapter of my life right now because I don't know when else I'm going to have this opportunity to be able to literally do everything I want to do every single day and be able to make money doing it. So I'm saying no to a lot of opportunities right now just so I can purely focus on content creation.
Yeah, it's a wise decision. When did the content creation come into play? Because obviously, social media is a newer element, and you started your entrepreneurial campaign before the rise of Instagram. Mm-hmm. What caused the content creation to come into your equation?
Yep. So 2016, I think I had a following of around 10,000 people on Instagram, and brands, were sending me product, and I'm like, wow, this is cool. I can't believe I'm getting packages from brands and cool stuff that I can use. Yeah. And then the summer of 2016, Oakley reached out, their PR team, and invited me on an all expenses paid trip to Kona to spectate the Ironman World Championships and to product test their new Radar Pace sunglasses. So that's when a light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, major brands are going to start allocating their marketing dollars towards influencers. I need to think of this as a personal brand, a business, and figure out, just like everything else, how I can add value, how I can build a community around it. Think of followers as, essentially good customers. And I started taking higher quality photos. I started trying to add value with every single post or evoke some kind of emotion or to create community and engagement around that post. And as I did that, more brands started reaching out and sending product. And it's a snowball effect. As more brands started reaching out and sending product, and I was promoting their products and services, more brands saw that. They reached out. And about a year ago, I hired an agent in New York. Again, I've learned through the years delegation, automation, and elimination, so I can only do what I can do best. And I hired a friend and now my agent in New York, who now he handles all of the invoicing, he negotiates contracts, he helps bring deals in so that I can just focus on what I can do, which is live my life the way I do, create content around that, add value around that, and I don't have to be burdened with, sitting down at a computer to do a lot of the back end stuff.
Sure. A question that just to scratch my own itch is, your photos are very well done. Everything from at the gym to out on the trail, and for your brands that you support. Do you have your friends take photography? Do you do self photography with like tripods? How do you go about capturing the day in the way that you do? Because you are about as well represented online as anybody I've ever met. Yeah,
so I would say 60% it's self-timer. It's setting it on a 20-second delay and showcasing what I'm doing that day as authentically as I possibly can without obviously having someone with me that is just capturing me in the moment doing it. Yeah. So self-timer. Oftentimes I'm just doing it myself. 20 to 25% of the time I'm with a friend that I have a nice camera and I know enough about photography that I can direct them in a way, I can get everything set up in a way that all they have to do is press the button to get a decent shot. So that's 25% of the time. And then 15% of the time, it's like an actual scheduled photo shoot, or I'm out with a professional photographer doing something. But honestly, I don't like staging stuff. I don't really like photo shoots. I like doing my normal thing and having a photographer with me to capture what I'm doing, but not having something that is like really, really posed, with studio lighting. And I want to capture authentically what I'm doing that day in the moment. That's ideally what I want to do. And it's Instagram. So yeah. I try to do it. This is what I was doing today. This is what was going through my mind. This is how I think I can add value to my audience about what I was doing today.
Yeah. Speaking personally, my biggest issue is like, I'm also a photographer, and I go down the route of like wanting to take very good photos rather than quick photos and getting it out there. Do you use a tripod often? How did you kind of condition yourself to being like, this is the time to do that? Because for me, like I get very involved in my day to day. Like I schedule my day so that when I'm working here at the house, I'm working. When I'm at the gym or at yoga or anywhere, I'm doing that. It doesn't come across to me as quickly to capture these great moments. So then I'm trying to kind of force feed it, and then I'm trying to make a scene rather, which obviously it doesn't translate as well as your method. Was there any method or any habits that you started to create to realize to reach for your phone, or this is the area to set up?
Yeah. So again, I'm a huge believer in focusing on one chapter at a time. And this is the chapter that I'm writing right now, is content creation. So I'm going through the world with that lens of, this is cool, this is engaging, I should capture this. So it's usually not an afterthought. It's just the way my mind is working right now. And I'm blocking out a lot of other things so that my mind is only thinking about that. Yes, I have a tripod with me. I'll bring my camera with me if I know I'm doing something cool that day. If I'm doing log carries at North Table Mountain, if I'm doing a polar plunge, if I'm doing something that, I know is going to be engaging and it's going to evoke some kind of emotion or questions, I'll bring my camera with me. But a lot of just like the Instagram stories is just, throughout the day, I'm going through life with that lens on of like, this would be interesting for my audience. I'm going to capture this, and it's in the moment. It's not staged.
Right on, man. What type of camera do you use? Just as one nerd to another?
Nikon Z7 with a 35 millimeter lens.
Okay. And you don't bring multiple lenses. You gotta
have that, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I brought 3 lenses to Europe when I was traveling and immediately shipped one of them back and decided to go smaller with the other ones, and kind of kept my fixed lens on as much as possible.
Yeah. I try to simplify things as much as possible. Same with like the photos. I'm not spending hours editing them. I have presets that I use, the same presets. So my feed looks uniform, and, I try to do everything well, but I also try to do things in a way that it's not super, super laborious.
Sure. So things are moving very quickly in the health and wellness space, and I'm very excited to see that more and more people are starting to realize that the mental wellness is more important than the physical. The physical wellness has been growing in popularity since the 80s, from jogging to weightlifting and then yoga and there's so many different ways to get in shape. But now there's this rise in mindfulness and in mental training. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the future of this total wellness heading?
It's huge. Like in college, a lot of it is just like define brand, and, you're not really learning things that you're going to apply later in life. I think so much more of college or even high school should be about mindfulness, like figuring out what you're really passionate about. Figure out like, how can you wake up every single morning with purpose? Don't conform to societal norms, like seek discomfort. Travel for 1 year by yourself, just meeting new people, surviving on your own, learning people skills, learning how to embrace conflict, learning how to connect with people. Like all of these things are things I feel like I started practicing in my 30s instead of my late teens and early 20s, when it would have been so much more formative. And again, so much of the recovery stuff I do is for mental wellness, like to feel good, to have positive energy, to not be depressed. So I think more and more of these anti-aging / mindfulness centers are going to start popping up where you're doing these things just to feel good, to eliminate anxiety. And the more I subject myself to good stressors, the less I get stressed out.
Totally.
If I cold exposure, CrossFit workouts, long aerobic workouts, I'm constantly stressing out my mind and body. I don't get sick anymore. I don't get pissed off if someone cuts me off on the road. Like it takes something monumental to get me stressed out. And it's because I've subjected myself to all of these good stressors on a regular basis. So I think that's a lot of it, is people need to learn to subject themselves, just like you would get a flu shot so you don't get the flu. Subject yourself to stressors, good stressors, seek discomfort, and you're going to perform mentally and physically at your optimum, which I don't think most people know what their optimum level is.
And I think there really is no such thing as your optimum, because once you're there, you see the small.
Keep setting the bar higher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you forecasting as your next endeavor? Like recovery's all in right now. What do you see is coming down? What's kind of starting to pique your interest? So
I own an infrared sauna. I love Sunlight Inn as a brand. I am in talks right now about doing an infrared sauna studio that's experiential. So I think from a business standpoint, that'll probably be my next business endeavor. But also I want to be careful not to screw up this great place in my life right now of the content creation stuff. Yeah. So I'm not chasing any kind of opportunities at the moment. I'm just letting things come my way. And if it's too good to not pass on, then I'm going to do it. But ultimately, I'm being careful to make sure I continue to have that freedom and flexibility to continue doing this content creation and working with brands whose products and services and the people I love.
Yeah. I know this is kind of jumping back in topics a little bit, but it was something I took a note to ask you about. You had mentioned that you had a critical hire back in the I believe 2009 mm-hmm. when you started delegating responsibilities. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice or any kind of horror stories surrounding delegation and choosing wisely. Because obviously, when you lean on someone in that capacity, it can be a very vulnerable and very tedious situation.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, you have to do it. Too many people are afraid to do it. And it's, again, like, it's not always going to work. Don't get me wrong. It's not always going to work, but you have to practice delegation in order to become good at delegation. And you have to practice relying upon others and figuring out those skill sets in others that you need in order to feel like things are being accomplished in a similar way that you would do them. And again, like, perfection often gets in the way of execution. And I've learned 100%. That. Like, I try to do things really, really well, but I like to execute. So I try not to really overthink things. If it feels right in my gut, then I do it. But yeah, I can't say I have absolute horror stories, but there's good people and there's bad people. I love people, but sometimes it's very difficult to love employees because it's really hard to find people that believe in what you're doing the same way that you do. And that's going to create some tension down the road.
Mm-hmm. And also, from my own experience in the businesses that I'm in currently and in the past, you want to hire ambitious, motivated, smart people. Mm-hmm. And the pitfall is that when you hire someone like that, they are going to do their job, they're going to do it well, and they're going to begin to outgrow the situation that you've put them in. Mm-hmm. So you, as an employer, as a manager, as a project leader, you have to continue to believe in them and to be creative as to how to keep them engaged, both with their incentives and with their workload. It's kind of like always giving them, 4% over their comfort zone challenge, right? If it's just astronomical, they're going to throw in the towel. If it's boring, they're going to throw in the towel. Yeah. So it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, especially as my own business right now is beginning to develop, and I'm thinking of the ideas and the strategies as to how to start to delegate this process.
Yeah. So I haven't been involved in the hiring or firing aspect in several years now. I have amazing business partners that are involved in the operational aspects of my different businesses. But when I was involved in that, it was more about finding people that were super passionate. And it didn't really matter if it was sewing or if it was fitness. Like, is it someone who is excitable? They can get really passionate about something. That's one of the major traits that I always look for in people. And those are the type of people that I like surrounding myself with. My business partners primarily have always been people that are just super passionate about something that we, each share in common. And that's what led to the formation of the business. It wasn't just chasing, we can make money doing this. It was, we have similar passions. Let's do this because we're going to love doing it together.
Right on. I know we're getting close to the end of our window together, but I had a big old framework of questions to ask, and I'm looking at it right now. And we did one of my favorite things when I structure interviews, which is that we covered almost all of it without it feeling like I'm throwing different questions at you. I love those types of organic conversations, Eric. So thank you so much for your time. I think a good last question to ask you is, you tell there's a lot of health and fitness influencers that highly recommend meal prepping and cooking, and you are take the opposite stance. You shop around, you eat weird meals, right? You're always looking around for something that's healthy, that's diverse. Do you have any tips and what to look for, what not to? I mean, maybe you can backtrack a little bit and talk about like what your personal diet looks like and what you look for in your restaurants that you're going to.
So I'm certainly not against meal prepping. The principle of meal prepping is the exact same principle that I employ with how I eat, and it's putting eating on autopilot. That is the key. So I don't meal prep only because I'm never home. I leave at 7:30 in the morning. I get home at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going throughout the day. And I pretty much only take meetings during eating periods because I know I have to eat 3 times a day. So that's why I go out to eat for all of my meals, is because I'm combining it with also, chatting with someone. But my breakfast, my lunch, and 75% of the time, my dinner is the exact same every single day at the same time at the same place. So I find those meals at different restaurants that I look forward to and that I know are going to give me energy and help me recover. 25% of the time, and I only usually do this for dinner, I will venture out to something new But I know then, like, I'm taking it off autopilot. I'm going to have to make decisions around eating, and I'm probably going to overeat, or I'm going to eat something that is outside of what I normally would eat. And I'm okay with that, but I know that I may not function as highly as I did if I just had the same exact dinner that I normally do, a big salad with some eggs on it. Mm-hmm. So the whole key is putting eating on autopilot. And that is why meal prep works. And that's why what I do works, is because it's not a decision. Freeing up my mind to make other decisions throughout the day. And I just know that I'm going to get that satiating benefit from eating that same salad that I do every single day at Green Seed at Denver Central Market.
Right on. I love that salad. Yeah. That's fantastic.
So good.
Yeah. No, I actually have a meeting later this week that's up there, so I'll make sure
get the Eric salad. Ask for the Eric salad.
Oh, is that a thing now?
Yeah.
Of course it is. Awesome. Eric, thanks so much for your time and sharing your story. I'm really glad I got to meet you, man.
Oh yeah. Fun as hell. Thanks,
cool.
Seth.
Cheers. Oof. Awesome interview with Eric Hinman. I am just so inspired by his story and what he's doing with his life, and it's so motivational. So props to you, Eric. I really appreciate you being out on the show. And until next time, thanks so much, guys. Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to the MindMill Podcast. If you loved this episode, check out some of the other MindMill episodes. They're all free and available at themindmill.com, as well as all major podcasting platforms. Also, please take a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's incredibly easy and really is the best way to support the show. Stay tuned for more MindMill episodes coming down the line. I'll keep them interesting for you, I promise. Take it easy.